I'd like to call to order, please, the zoning meeting. If you all could please be seated. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Lundy. Here. Commissioner Darrett.
Here.
Commissioner Oster.
Here.
Commissioner Ward.
Here.
Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here. Here.
Commissioner Baylor.
Here.
Commissioner Daly.
Here.
Commissioner Jay.
Here.
Commissioner Frazier.
Present.
You want yours? You want yours as well?
Thank you. We'll move forward.
Oh, okay.
We do have quorum. I'll now turn it over to Director Moyers and ask him to do the swearing in, please.
All right, if you're here on any zoning item before the commission, if you're here in favor of an item as the applicant, or if you're here in opposition and you plan to speak to this commission, please stand at this time and raise your right hand. If you plan to speak to this commission tonight, stand and raise your right hand.
Everyone, please, if you're going to be speaking.
All right. You solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're going to give tonight be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay.
Thank you. If there's no objection, I'm going to try a little bit different order on zoning tonight. We have 5 items that were voted on 14-0. They were consent items. I'm going to suggest that we do those first, and then we will go back to items that had opposition or had speakers at planning. If there are any speakers for these consent items, though, they will still have the opportunity to speak. So our order of agenda is going to be item 48, 49, 53, 54, and 55, and then we will come back to the first item. So again, 48, 49, 53, 54, and 55. Madam Clerk, would you please proceed with item 48?
Item 48 is 1-H-24-RZ. It's a request of Richard LeMay for rezoning from PR Plan Residential up to 3 dwelling units per acre to PR Plan Residential up to 3.5 dwelling units per acre. The property is located at 648 Fox Road, parcel ID 144006 in the 3rd Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Anyone? Oh, please come forward, sir. Would you state your name, please, and address for the record?
Ray Isaac, 9858 Footpath Lane. I'm in behalf of Richard LeMay.
Thank you, sir. Is there any opposition present for this item or anyone else that would like to speak on this item? I see no hands, please. Did you want to speak now?
I just want to clarify one thing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You originally were approved for 10 lots. You're just jumping it to 12 lots. Is that correct?
No, actually, we were approved for 12 to start with. But then there was some mistakes in the plat calculations, and the commission, you approved 12 units to start with. But then they found a mistake, so now they're trying to correct it.
It's just a cleanup then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Director Brooks, would you please read the recommendation, the Planning Commission?
Yes, certainly. Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 3.5 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development by a vote of 14-0 on consent.
Thank you. You have already been asked to speak to your project. Was there anything else you'd like to say?
No, that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Are there any comments or questions from fellow commissioners on this? Seeing none, hold on one second, sir. I'll look to Commissioner Oster.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I tried to reach out to Mr. LeMay a couple of times because I was curious about the project, and I haven't heard anything. So do you want to explain anything about the project?
In terms of what?
What your plans are for the development?
It's a single-family home, 12 units.
Okay. What I have done with the last one that came on Fox Road is I actually only approved 3 dwelling units an acre because of Fox Road. So I think that that's where I'm more comfortable of being at 3 acres, 3 dwelling units an acre instead of the 3.5. So I will make a motion to approve the PR zone up to 3 dwelling units an acre. So that's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Oster, second by Frazier. Discussion, Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. These lots are already platted and the road is in. I think what's happened here, because it was only a property that had 3.4 acres, they were originally given the opportunity, because they thought the acreage was larger, they only went for 3 units an acre, which gave them 12 lots. Now they realize with the final plat, the acreage has been reduced, and they were originally obviously given the 12 units an acre. So you've already got the, do you have the
Water and
the water and sewer is
power
already
and
in for
everything
12
connected
lots.
to 12 units.
That's the dilemma we're in now,
And the
because
county
it's already
office already
ready to roll.
approved it before for 12 units. So everything going on until they discover there is some error, but everybody involved in the error. So now it's going to be a devastating thing to not to approve.
Okay. That's why it's a really good idea if a commissioner reaches out to the applicant to get back with us.
Yeah.
Because I really shouldn't have to be reaching out to you guys. You should be reaching out to me or having your representative reach out to me so
Oh, what
that there's
apology.
not this communication problem, okay? So I will pull my motion back and amend it, that I will approve the PR zone up to 3.5 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Frazier, are you still, all right? Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Item 49, please.
It's 1-J-24-RZ, request of David Kitts and Cynthia L. Kitts for rezoning from A agricultural and F floodway to PR plan residential up to 2 dwelling units per acre and of F floodway located at 0 Meadowglade Lane, parcel ID 038-13302 in the 7th Commission District.
Hi,
Yes, ma'am. Robert Campbell, 7523 Taggart, on behalf of the applicant.
thank you. Is there any opposition in the audience? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve PR Plan Residential Zone up to 2 dwelling units per acre on a portion of the property zoned A agricultural because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development. The F floodway zone will be retained.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to the project?
I can. We are adding about 5 or 6 lots at the end of an existing subdivision. There's a road that terminates there, and the developers want to go back and put, like I said, about 3 lots at the end of each one of those termini.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll turn this over to Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. How many dwellings will there be then?
About 6, Commissioner.
6.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll make my motion to approve the planned residential zone up to 2 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the sector plan and the surrounding development.
Second.
Have a motion by Lee, a second by Beeler. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
You bet. Item 53, please.
1-J-24-SP. Request of Dale Akins for Southwest County Sector Plan Amendment from MDR Medium Density Residential and SP Stream Protection to LI Light Industrial and SP Stream Protection, located at 0 Ebenezer Road, parcel ID 132-09801 in the 5th Commission District.
Is the applicant present? Hi,
Dale Akins, 12624 Barnstable Lane in Knoxville.
thank you. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the LI Light Industrial and Land Use classification because it's consistent with the adjacent development. The SP Stream Protection area will be retained.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion that we approve the Planning Commission recommendation to approve the light industrial land use classification.
I see, have a motion by Schoonmaker. Was that second by Jay? Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Hang on. Item 54,
54.
thank you.
It's 9-I-23-RZ. It's a request of Dale Akins also. It's for rezoning from A agricultural and F floodway to CB business and manufacturing and F floodway. And the property description is the same as the previous item.
Thank you. And you are?
Dale Akins, 12624 Barnstable Lane in Knoxville.
Thank you, Mr. Akins. Any opposition? Any comments? Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to I need a recommendation, please, from Director Brooks.
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the CB Business and Manufacturing Zone because it's compatible with the adjacent industrial uses and provides a transition of land use intensity. The F floodway zone will be retained.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is great because this business that's associated, Pips Ironworks, has been in Knox County for as long as I have. And so it's great to see a manufacturing operation expanding their business model. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Planning Commission recommendation for the CB Business and Manufacturing Zone.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Schoonmaker, a second by Frazier. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you and good luck.
Good night.
All right, Commissioners, we will be backing up now.
We're on 55. On page 12.
Oh, I apologize. Item 55.
12-C-23-RZ is a request of Jenkins Builders for rezoning from A agricultural, RB general residential, and PR plan residential up to 16 dwelling units per acre to PR plan residential up to 12 dwelling units per acre, located at 7311, 7321, and 0 Old Clinton Pike, parcel ID 067-148, part of 067-147, and 067-14801, and it's in the 6th Commission District.
Thank you.
Yes.
The applicant, please.
Yes, David Harbin. Address is 4334 Paper Mill Drive here in Knoxville.
Thank you, Mr. Harbin. Is there any other opposition or comments on this? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 12 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions, comments? Seeing none, I'd like to make the recommendation, please, that we approve PR up to 12 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development.
Second.
A motion by Hill, second by Oster. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, right, if I'm looking correctly, I believe we're on item 44.
It's 1-C-24-RZ, a request of Connor P. Kelly for rezoning from A agricultural and F floodway to PR Plan residential up to 5 dwelling units per acre in F floodway. Property located at 7933 Manorville Pike, parcel ID 029001 in the 7th Commission District.
Thank you. Are you the applicant?
Yeah, Connor Kelly, 3571 Louisville Road, Louisville, Tennessee.
All right. Are there any other questions, opposition to speak to this? Seeing none. Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve PR Plan Residential up to 4 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development. The F floodway area will be retained.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to this development?
Anything in particular?
Just,
Yeah,
the floor is yours.
Yeah, we've currently gotten some of our plans back, and on January 11th, it was recommended that we do 4 units per acre. We're actually going to be closer to about 2.5, 3, given the current plans we have. I've reached out to a few people that live in the surrounding area. After running through the plans with them, they seem pretty happy to see the future work. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So are these going to be single-family homes?
I'm sorry about that. I left too early. Yeah, it's going to be single-family residential.
Okay.
Hang on.
I just don't like to approve that many dwelling units per acre. I'd make a motion to approve 2 dwelling units per acre. That's my motion.
Second.
Motion by Lee, second by Frazier, to approve 2 dwelling units per acre. Are there any questions or comments on this? Commissioner Daly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You said you were only going to do 2 to 3?
Currently, as it states right now, the plans that we have is about 2.6, what it boils down to. Planning recommended up to 4 dwelling units per acre. The current plans, given the topography of the overall site, we're able to get 2.5 to 3. That's
Okay.
what we have.
So no more than 3.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make sure I'm clear that you went through staff planning and planning commission and both came out at 3 units an acre. Is that correct?
The recommendation was 4 units per acre.
4 units an acre.
Yes, sir.
And you're wanting to come in under the recommendation at 3 units an acre.
No, sir. I'm just saying that's where we're at right now. I was great with the recommendation of 4 units per acre. Just the way that it boiled down now is 3, and I'm okay with that.
But your district commissioner just made a motion for 2. So it's been cut in half from where you started.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we go through these processes, we go through them trying to figure out every piece of land is different, every property is different, every development is financially viable or not. And it's sort of an unusual request to go down from where you were approved at the beginning, much less than it being halved as much. I want to make sure you have an opportunity to express that, because if it.
Well, do I have the right to object?
Oh,
to
yeah,
the
of
2
course.
units?
This is
Yeah,
this is your thing. So I want you to understand, like, there's a motion on the floor to do half of what you started out at. And if it's not viable for you, you need to speak up, because and your commissioner may have additional questions. I just want to give you an opportunity to.
In that case, I do object to the 2 units per acre.
Well, I've had some opposition from the neighbors.
Hold on, please. Let me call on Commissioner Frazier, and I will circle back.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point out that the proposed future land use map has this parcel classified as rural conservation, and that is based on aligning, this parcel with existing development in the area to maintain the rural character. Also, it's concerning that the average daily vehicle trips that your proposed project would produce is 2,700 daily vehicle trips. So I just wanted to point that out, and that is why I supported Commissioner Lee's recommendation.
Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden, what will be the access point to this subdivision?
There's an existing access point that I believe Mr. Kelly's going to come out at the same location. There's a culvert there that we think the state may have built for access to that private property some years ago. And if you can kind of see it on KJS there, it looks like it lines up with, let me see here. Just a little bit south of where relocated Tail Mine it was. So our department didn't have any concerns with the access point.
So it will be on Maynardville Pike?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jay? All right. Commissioner Lee?
My motion still stands.
All
The
right.
motion I made.
All right. Did you have anything else to say toward this, sir?
Anything additional beyond the object to the 2 units per acre? No, ma'am.
All right. All right. We have a motion and a second. Oh, I apologize. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up. Commissioner Frazier, you're saying that on the comprehensive land use plan that's publicized by Knox County, this is in the, could you repeat that again?
Rural conservation.
And that allows how many units per acre?
We'll defer to Director Brooks.
I apologize. Can you ask that question one more time, Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Okay. This property is classified under the new comprehensive land use plan that's going to take effect here shortly. So if it's under rural conservation, what is the designation number of units per acre that it's allowed under that designation?
It's still in the planned growth area, so it would allow up to 3 dwelling units per acre.
Okay,
Consideration of.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion on the floor at 2 per acre. Commissioner Ward.
Thank you. I have a question. So say we do pass the plan and everything, can he just come back and get his 3 units an acre at that point?
I apologize, I misspoke. So in the planned growth area, I was still thinking 3. It does allow, because it's in the planned growth area, it allows consideration of more than 2. It's not limited by the rural area, the proposed growth plan. So it currently could be considered up to 5. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Ward?
I believe so. So after the new plan gets put through, he can come back and get up to 5 units an acre because that's what's allowed in that area in the future, in theory, if everything gets passed and blah, 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 blah.
They could come back and request additional density under the planned residential zone.
Once it gets up to 5 units an acre in the future.
Well, currently, they could request up to 5 now.
What happens if we pass the plan? Would they be at 3 or would they be at 5 in the future? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, it depends on what's approved today, the zoning today. The zoning's not going to change. They would still have to, so if the future land use map is adopted, the rural conservation place type would be applied, but the zoning is not changing. So if they wanted to make any additional changes to their zoning, they would have to come back before the planning commission in this body.
I think you're almost there. The question was, with the rural, what is it going to be, 2 units in the future, regardless of what this is zoned now?
No, it is currently in the planned growth area and is going to stay in the planned growth area if the plans move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm confused. It's a piece that's in planned growth that is designated as rural conservation. Is that what I'm hearing?
In the future land use map that you all have not considered yet and the planning commission has not yet voted on, the place type designated for this property is proposed to be rural conservation.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kelly? With your basically 60 acres, you've plotted it out, and you can do 2.6 homes per acre?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've kind of filled in all the gaps. That would work. That number would work for you then?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll make a substitute motion to approve at 2.6 units an acre.
We have a substitute motion on the floor by Jay, seconded by Ward. Is there any discussion on this substitute motion? Commissioner Durrett, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What would before the substitute motion at 2 units per acre, how would that affect your project?
If we dropped it down to the 2 acres?
Yes, sir.
It would kind of bust our budget. Well, it wouldn't bust the budget, but, looking at things from the whole perspective and development costs allocated to it, there's a certain number that we have to reach. And if we keep bumping down closer to 2, well, how close can we get to that number before the whole deal blows up? So that's really what I take in consideration. Ultimately, the design that we have right now is at 2.6. That's what works for us. Anything less than that, I just can't do.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kelly, what is the general price point of the homes that you're going to build? The range, broad range. I know it changes on the hour.
Sure, I would say that we're looking at a range between 350 to 415, 420.
Yeah. So the reason I made the substitute motion is to keep, we talk about needing affordable housing, and there's only 2 types of affordable housing: government subsidized and government built housing, or houses that are more affordable for everyone across the county. And the reason I made the substitute motion to try to find, I think it's a reasonable compromise to go from 4 down to 2.6, is that to try to keep it more affordable. If it goes lower than that, you're going to have to charge more for the same general houses. We're talking about probably not more than a few different, units different, but your costs are going to rise.
Yes.
And it's going to be more affordable or more unaffordable for people to buy that first home. We heard earlier, and we've been given reports in the past that shows how hard it is to buy a $350,000 to $450,000 home right now, just for the average, teacher, police, fireman, but just anybody in Knox County. And so I'm always trying to find more opportunities to keep it more affordable, and that's why I made the substitute motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you don't know what the cost difference would be between 2 versus 2.6?
I don't have that exact number, and I really don't want to misquote.
Thank you.
Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Moyers, is it advisable for this body to ask about price points?
Okay. I can't give you a legal answer to that. I can't tell you what's advisable or not. I'm here as your legal advisor. You're talking about a question of policy rather than law.
Has it not been
It's not
stated-
illegal to ask about price points if that's what you mean.
But have we not been encouraged to not ask about price points so that it does not influence our decision?
Well, I don't know. I don't believe that I've suggested that to you. I don't know what happened before I came here. When you make these decisions, you're taking everything into account, and that's one consideration you can legally, have. You can take considerations of the surrounding neighborhood, traffic. It's all sort of a holistic way that you look at this. And, when we keep talking about growth and what's happening in this county, what's happened to house prices, that is a legitimate thing to consider, but it's certainly not the only thing to consider. You have to take in all the factors that would be appropriate in making a decision about whether or not to rezone and at what density. And if you believe that higher density leads to a lower price, then you can take that into account. I don't know, what the no evidence necessarily has been presented for that here, but it is something you can consider, certainly.
Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would say that the biggest thing that matters to me is what the people in my district want. And they don't want that many houses on the acres. And so what the people want matters to me as well. We're going to have an election here. We're going to have 7 commissioner seats that are going to be open here soon. 5 people on this commission won't be back in a few months because they're either term limited or have chose not to run. So I think that when we ignore what the people in the district want, we're in trouble, because I think that what the community wants is important too. So that's what my decision is of why I only want 2 per acre. Thank
All right, we have a substitute motion on the floor at 2.6 per acre. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. That's right. Motion at 2.6 per acre passes. Good luck with your project. Next item.
Next item is number 45, 1-E-24-RZ. It's also a request of Connor P. Kelly for rezoning from A agricultural to PR Plan Residential up to 5 dwelling units per acre, located at 1630 Harvey Road, parcel ID 169009 in the 5th Commission District.
Is the applicant present?
Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant.
Thank you. I do see some opposition out there. Is there any consistency or a plan on the speaking? I can give you all a total of 10 minutes. Who will be speaking? Thank you. All right, I just wanted to clarify that.
So each side has 10 minutes to speak?
I will give you 10 minutes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Before you speak, Mr. Mullins, so I will get the recommendation of planning.
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 3 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development by a vote of 14-0.
Thank you. The floor is yours, Mr. Mullins.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commission. Again, Ben Mullins here for the applicant. This is a piece of property. It's 42.44 acres in southwest Knox County off South North Shore Drive between the Choteau Roundabout and the Loudoun County line. It has access to both South North Shore Drive and Harvey Road. The original application for this was an application for rezoning to planned residential at 5 units an acre. Staff, when they considered this application and they looked at the surrounding development, what the surrounding development was built out at, what the surrounding development had been zoned, what the current planned growth policy plan calls for, the planned growth area, and what the sector plan, the low-density residential sector plan, which allows consideration for up to 5 units an acre, they made a recommendation that this property would be appropriate at 3 dwelling units an acre, which if you look at a 1-mile radius at the properties that have already been developed in that area, they are built out at approximately 3.2 dwelling units an acre. So it is consistent with what is presently there. It's consistent with the sector plan that has been in place since 2016. It's consistent with the growth policy plan that has been in place for 24 years, and it's consistent with the proposed growth policy plan that this body is considering tonight. And with all of those factors in mind, as the applicant accepts staff's recommendation at 3 dwelling units an acre, and that is in fact what Planning Commission did vote to recommend by 14-0 for 3 dwelling units an acre. I know there's a lot of opposition. There are problems with South North Shore Drive and the traffic, specifically from the Concord roundabout to the Choteau roundabout. That's the most heavily traveled portion of that road. And there are plans that Director Snowden can illuminate on to modernize and widen that road. The section that we're talking about here between the Choteau roundabout and Harvey Road has significantly less traffic on it currently. It's 4,800 cars per day. The traffic accident rate in that stretch of the road is below the state average. But again, this is the first step in the process. Once we have the rezoning in place for 3 dwelling units an acre, we'll have to move forward with a development plan and a concept plan where there will be a traffic impact analysis. Now, I know there's some skepticism on what that traffic impact analysis may or may not reveal, but with the level of scrutiny on this, I know Mr. Snowden is going to really look at what the impacts that we're going to cause on this stretch of South North Shore and make us contribute in mitigating those impacts, which is what the legal standard is. You know, we can't fix problems that are existing, but we can't make them worse. And what we can be called to do is participate in improvements to the road that are going to mitigate from the impact roughly proportional to the impact that we're going to cause. And that will happen once we move forward with a traffic impact analysis. I would like to, I think this meets all the factors that we look at. And when we're making a decision, you know, Tennessee does have a strong property rights. You have a lot of discretion in making these decisions. As Mr. Moyers just talked about, you can take everything into consideration, but you still have to follow the existing standards that are in place. And the existing standards in place all call for this property to be considered at low-density residential, and 3 dwelling units an acre is right in the middle of that low-density residential factor. And it also is consistent with what is already there. I know we have opposition. I want to reserve about 5 minutes of my time for rebuttal following what the opposition says. But when you have opposition like this, when the people that are in the existing neighborhoods now say enough's enough, we don't want any more, it kind of reminds me of the Ronald Reagan quote, you know, the people that are opposed to this already have their homes. They're already living here. The farm that they want to call this has not been farmed for several years. It's been a vacant field. Mr. Harvey has wanted to sell this for quite some time. This is an opportunity where he can recoup, you know, the investment he has on this property in a way that is respectful to the existing plans that we have in place. So for that, I would ask that you follow staff's recommendation, follow Planning Commission's recommendation, and approve this at PR at 3 dwelling units an acre. Thank you.
Thank you. Spokesperson for the opposition, your name and county of residence, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair, esteemed members of the commission. My name is Mike Mitchell. I am a Knox County resident, live at 716 Brixworth Boulevard. There are people here tonight, and you can see them behind me, and I hold here the 567 comments that they made to the Planning Commission. And I want to be very clear. Adding more traffic to the roads in Choteau will undoubtedly lead to loss of life. Traffic is no longer a minor inconvenience. It is literally a matter of life and death. Consider the alarming statistics. The crash rate on North Shore Drive between Choteau and Concord is already above the state average. Accidents along the North Shore corridor have increased at a staggering 39% in recent years. Tragically, we have witnessed at least 2 fatal accidents in as many years, claiming the lives of Suzanne Russell and Janet Guzman. Commissioner Larson J. has aptly pointed out that most of these accidents occur during daylight hours, in clear weather conditions, and along the roadway not near an intersection. Rear-end collisions account for nearly a third of the reported accidents and are undoubtedly fueled by the increased volume of traffic congesting our roads. This dangerous condition has been fostered by the allowance of increased population density in Choteau without necessary road improvements. 53 years ago, I used to ride my motorcycle down North Shore Drive, and nothing has changed there except for 2 roundabouts, a turn lane, and now we're going to get 2 feet per lane widened on North Shore Drive. Each time we raise concerns about increased traffic from proposed rezoning, we are met with promises of a traffic analysis analysis at some distant point in the future. The county adopted traffic endpoint guidelines back in 1995, along then with the development at Montgomery Cove. Since then, the growth has been steady. Here are the following subdivisions since then: Jefferson Park, Harper's Cove, Mallard Bay Unit 1, Mallard Bay Unit 4, the Livery, the Woods at Montgomery Cove, Choteau Landing, Bayou Bend, Harper Crest, Lake Cove, Ferris Property, Choteau Meadows, Choteau Mill, the Woods, Shady Glen. All of that since 1995, and hardly anything has been done to the east-west connector to this area. My little sister almost died in 1976 at North Shore and Concord. The consequence of overdevelopment extended beyond just traffic concerns. I'll share a personal anecdote. A close friend of mine faced harrowing circumstances when he went to the UT emergency room in December of 2022. Despite the fact that he had an urgent need for medical attention, he was left untreated for 17 and a half hours, and then he had a heart attack. And they gave him a stent, and he lived. Had they reached him in less than 17 and a half hours, he would not have had a heart attack. The public safety issue here is crucial. There's also evidence that we're facing an imminent tax increase as single-family residential subdivisions fail to generate enough tax revenue to support the necessary infrastructure and services. So we have now gotten, by kicking the can down the road, we're behind the curve. It's going to be a cash problem to fix these roads of North Shore, Choteau, and Harvey. Every new residential subdivision places existing additional strain on the county infrastructure, exacerbating the already precarious situation we find ourselves in. As many of you are running for re-election, you should keep in mind that promises have been made repeatedly to widen North Shore Road. I remember in this body in the early 2000s when District 5 had 3 commissioners that we were, Mike Hammond, Craig Luthold, and John Grease talked about 4-laning North Shore. It's time to move beyond empty promises of future road improvements and another useless traffic study. So what can we do as we face this crisis? We must demand action from our elected officials. First, the most effective action would be to deny this rezoning and others like it until the crash rate on North Shore Drive is no longer above the state average. Therefore, I urge this commission to stand on public health and safety and fiscal responsibility. Deny the requested rezoning and any others like it in this area until our roads are made safe and the crash rate for North Shore Drive falls below the state average. The time for action is now. Let's prioritize the lives and well-being of our community above the developer's quest for profit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mullins, did you want to respond?
I'm sorry, I didn't know, is Mike the only speaker? Yes, I do want to respond, and I appreciate the time to do so. I do appreciate them mentioning Commissioner Jay's letter, and that letter was to Mayor Jacobs on September 1, 2023. And I've read that letter, and I appreciate Commissioner Jay, what you're doing there. You're calling for there to be even more roundabouts in that area because those roundabouts are traffic calming and help alleviate the types of accidents that you're seeing on that stretch of South North Shore Drive. I don't believe you're calling for a moratorium for any development on South North Shore Drive, and that's the way that has been represented throughout this process. I just want to make that clear. And I would like to ask Director Snowden if he's able to talk about the planned improvements along the stretch of South North Shore Drive between the Concord roundabout and the Choteau roundabout, and what the purpose of that is in light of the crash data in that area.
Mr. Snowden?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. Yeah, as part of the, there's been multiple commissioners involved in this. Commissioner Schoonmaker, Commissioner Jay have been, advocates for these projects. As part of the budget that was announced last year by Mayor Jacobs, we did want to modernize North Shore Drive. The 2.5 miles from, essentially between the roundabouts, everything to the east of the Concord roundabout is a state route. So Knox County does not maintain that portion. But everything to the west is a county road. And the 2.5 miles that to these folks have said, does have an elevated crash rate, does have higher traffic volumes. And, there's lane widths there that vary between 10 and 11 feet. Shoulders that are non-existent, 0 to 2 feet. There's some deficiencies there. So what we have chosen to do that actually right-of-way acquisitions will be in front of this body next month is to make that 2.5 miles from roundabout to roundabout at Concord to North Shore is to make that roadway a minimum of 11-foot lanes in each direction, have a minimum 2-foot paved shoulders, have center line rumble strips, edge line rumble strips, those operational safety improvements. In addition to, if you'll notice, a lot of those areas, if there's a steep drop off right at the edge of the road. And what we're going to do is install 4-to-1 or relatively flat 4 slopes. So if somebody does get slightly off the wider lanes and the wider shoulders, they will have a slope in which they can get off and drive back onto. It's traversable. It's so that there's a big change there that we think, as long as we see the accidents are related to maybe some inattentive drivers that just don't have the they look down and they get off the roadway. So we do believe those improvements will improve a lot of that safety. In addition, there is some outdated guardrail out there in that one embayment area. We'll be installing new guardrail, new end treatments. So this project we anticipate probably start later this summer, probably take 8 to 12 months. So it would be worst case completed in the summer of 2025. It's an important project that we're hopeful can get started soon and really mitigate some of these safety concerns that you've heard about tonight from the citizens out there.
Thank you. I appreciate you telling Commission about that. And I guess the goal of that is, as I understood from your comments, is to make sure that the crash rate along this section of South North Shore actually falls then below the state average for that crash rate. And you've identified these plans, although they, are not a 4-lane highway, but by modernizing the road, by widening the road to the extent they plan to widen it, and by improving these shoulders, is anticipated to bring the crash rate down below what the state average is. And the crash rate along the section of South North Shore Drive between Choteau and Harvey Lane is currently below the state average as well. But there's also quite a bit of frontage of this property along South North Shore, and I anticipate that there will be an opportunity when we get to the development plan phase to be able to improve that section as well and participate in the improvements in that section as well. And again, that is something that's not decided now. That's something that is decided when we move forward, because this is a planned zone and it will require a traffic impact analysis. So again, this meets the standards that we have in place that we are bound by law to follow. And I would appreciate that if you would follow Planning Commission's recommendation and vote to approve it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Mr. Mitchell, in fairness, do you have any other comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to point out that people don't, until you've lived through this, you don't understand it. I live in Turkey Creek Road. It doesn't take much to lock up North Shore. An accident can cause a backup for miles. And then these people come down Choteau and Harvey, and they come to our neighborhood. The problem is, what happens when a tree fell down, blocked 2 lanes of traffic, and the emergency people could not get there to cut the tree up and move it? Now, what happens if you live in one of these Choteau communities and a loved one has a heart attack? How are they supposed to get emergency services? This is a public safety and health issue. And I remember in this body, talking about 4-laning North Shore. And I appreciate what Mr. Snowden said, but it's still not going to be, even when it's widened, it's still going to get log jammed. How do you get a fire truck, a sheriff's deputy, emergency medical services when you just can't get there? I understand that we're standing here and we're saying enough's enough, and that's a little hard for the applicant. But at what point do we draw a line in the sand and say that public health and safety is paramount? Thank you.
Commissioners, I did not see whose light was Commissioner Frazier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank Ben Mullins and Mr. Cook. I don't think he's here for meeting with a few of us and the members of the community recently. We always welcome and encourage engagement from the applicant with the community. So I appreciate you sharing your time with us. I want to say I'm not opposed to development, and I'm not opposed to the development of this parcel. In my opinion, the staff recommendation, it does align in form and character based on the current land use classification and zoning. However, the proposed place type for this area as proposed today is to rural living. And so that will change. That will change that. So because of the proposed land use classification of rural living and a forthcoming road safety improvement project, what I can't support is the timing of this project. Road improvements to address the safety issues, they're slated to begin late summer 2024. I have seen and lived how over 2,000 daily vehicle trips negatively impacts safety and congestion. And I would feel personally irresponsible adding that many vehicles before making the planned, much-needed road improvements. So I will not be supporting this.
Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to, my letter has been used, I'd say, by every side that has an opinion in this area, however they seem wish. And I'm not exactly sure. I'm pretty sure I copied all of you all on it, but if I didn't, I'm happy to supply a copy to you. This was in relation to a previous development that had strong opposition, and I'm someone who tries to find solutions instead of just saying no, or it's not going to happen, or we all got to stop. And I'm not a believer in pulling up the drawbridge and saying I got mine and you all can, forget about it. It's not the reality of where we are as a growing county. So I tried to present to Mayor Jacobs and Mr. Snowden some ideas. How could we improve it? And that was with additional roundabouts, which I do think will help, and I think is a logical solution for so many parts of our county. But those things cost money. And as much as, and we're going to talk about this when we get back to our other meeting and talk about the growth plan, but as much as everybody has said the same thing and will and have for the last 6 years I've been here and probably will be for the next 2 years, is we are so inadequately investing in our infrastructure. And we have, and we've made that choice. Everyone in this room and everyone in this county collectively for 25 years has made that choice. We're all part of it. So it's not just us versus you, or you versus the farmers, or farmers versus the next neighborhood, or neighborhood versus neighborhood. We've collectively elected representatives that said, we're never going to keep up with revenue costs. We're never going to keep up with expenses in this county. We're never going to build more stuff. We're never going to expand and grow. And we're talking about a growth plan that they never kept up with. And I do commend Mayor Jacobs for finally putting a flag in the ground and saying, we've got to catch up at some point. We've got to have a plan. Our former colleague of Amy Brooks, as he was walking out the door, so adequately said, per the old Beatles song, if you don't know where you're going, then any road will do. And we have never stopped and said, this is where we're going. But this is how North Shore became North Shore. In 1976, when you rode your motorcycle down there weren't any neighborhoods. But every neighborhood after every neighborhood, and many of you, including people I know in that area, all decided, yes, I want to buy my house in this neighborhood, and I'm okay with it. And I'm okay contributing to more traffic, and I'm okay with the next person and the next person and the next person. And I'm also okay not investing in infrastructure. We've all collectively made that decision together, and it's been inadequate. And so literally the very first project I ever worked on as a commissioner 6.5 years ago, before I was even sworn in, was this area when I saw a young family trying to get to the park in the ditch, dodging cars with no access to their own public parks. And for 6 years, I've worked side by side with Commissioner Schoonmaker, Mr. Snowden, to build improvements to pedestrian safety, to improve shoulders, which we've done, to advocate with TDOT to put in more infrastructure, which they did. And now it is unbelievable that the project that Mr. Snowden outlined is $2.5 to $3 million. Tell me one other place of a 2-mile stretch in this county are we spending $3 million on infrastructure? I'll wait all night because the answer is zero. And I point that out because in a $20 million road budget for 500,000 people and 535 square miles, we're never going to catch up. And at some point, this community has to have an honest conversation about that, and this commission does too. In the meantime, we're in the chicken and egg scenario every single time we come up here to vote. Every single time. If you don't have growth, you don't have a revenue. And if the only two things you're doing in any business, you're growing or dying. I'd rather be growing than dying all day long. But you can't have growth without the infrastructure. You can't have the infrastructure without the growth. So what do? You do your best to keep up with as much as you can, when you can, with the resources you can. And I'm a huge proponent that we ought to be putting 100 times more resources into our infrastructure. But the financial reality is that this community's chosen not to do that. And so maybe we will that one day. Maybe we'll decide to buckle down. In the meantime, I'm a huge believer in personal property rights. And I looked up while we were having this discussion earlier, I looked up this parcel. The Harvey family has owned this parcel since 1906. 1906. And I bet you at one point way back when it really was a farm. It was a working farm that produced hay or cattle or whatever. I don't know the Harvey family, but I imagine that was the case. So for 118 years, the Harvey family has worked this land, has maintained this land, and have paid their taxes. Do they not have any rights? Who wants to tell the farmer or the next person down that they don't have a right to their land? They don't have a right to the value of that. They don't have a right to pay for their kids' college fund or their grandkids' education or their senior housing or their retirement. Why don't they have rights too? And I think we lose that. We always point at the greedy developer. You either want government housing, which I know you don't want. I know you don't want because we went through that before. So you either want government subsidized housing or you want free market housing that's more affordable. And the only way to get free market housing that's more affordable is to have more inventory. This is economics 101 and supply and demand. So we are growing at Knox County whether we like it or not. And water is going to flow where water is going to flow. And it's our job to manage it the best we can. But people are going to come here anyway. And if the status quo is do nothing and put our head in the sand and say, oh, well, and wait for the infrastructure to catch up, we're not going to do anything ever. We're going to just stop and it's going to be more unaffordable. And so this is a perfect example of where somebody has a right to their land. Somebody has a right to build houses that we will move in, just like the ones you live in. And we are going to do our best to catch up with the infrastructure. Should North Shore Drive be widened? Sure. Okay, but let's go tell the 5 subdivisions that put their entrance into the right of way, into the public land, that we're about to chop off half their barrier. Let's see how that goes. We've had that discussion before. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be pretty, but it is going to be incremental and natural growth. So I think that this is a reasonable compromise. It was started at 5. 3 is just like every other neighborhood in there. We're going to do as much as we can to invest, and I hope we invest more. I would hope that we can invest more in roundabouts, in more widening, and everything else that every concern has. We just have to decide if we want to pay for it or not. So we can't say we don't want to pay for it and then complain about it. We've got to be part of a solution. I'm happy to support 3 units an acre because I think it's very appropriate. I also think it's legal, and I also think the Harvey family has some rights. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Lee.
I agree. I support totally what Commissioner Frazier's saying for all the reasons that she's saying it. I support all the people that turned out tonight and all the people that have emailed and reached out to me. I disagree with what Commissioner Jay said because I think we're not listening to the people that it affects every day. And these people matter. And all we hear is growth, growth, growth. I think we need to push back and not grow so fast when it affects people's lives, people's safety. So I cannot approve this.
Commissioner Schoonmaker, if I may ask a question before.
Oh, absolutely. I'd rather be last.
Thank you. Mr. Mullins, do you know at this point if there is an immediate plan to build?
There's not an immediate plan. I don't know. I mean, to Commissioner Frazier's point about the timing, I don't know what that timing for the build. We don't have a development plan yet.
All right.
And so I suspect it would take some time to get that together, get that through the process, and get that approved. And the time frame between whenever we are moving forward with this development and when the improvements to South North Shore Drive are going to be really compressed, if not close together, based upon the estimates I've heard Director Snowden give is when they want to start that project.
Thank you. And,
Thank you.
And to follow up with you, Mr. Snowden, I think I really appreciate what you're trying to do out there. And I heard you say that you anticipated roughly by the summer of 2025, it would be completed.
Yes, ma'am, that's our current estimate.
Okay. So the improvement probably will be done before any traffic, measurable traffic anyway, would happen. I have to say I tend to agree with Commissioner Jay. I too am a huge property rights proponent, and the development along North Shore, it's we are just in this chicken and egg, like you said. It's always all right for you, but it's not okay for the next guy. And I promise you, if any of you were sitting out there with that kind of property in that location, and someone was trying to tell you what you could not do with it, not one of you would be happy about that. So for that reason, I do think that this is a reasonable compromise, the 3 per acre, and I will be supporting it. Commissioner, anyone else like to speak before Commissioner Schoonmaker? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a question for Director Brooks. My question is, are there any additional requirements associated with the PR zone?
Just hush.
And will they have to bring anything back?
That's a great question. Yes, this is only the first step in the process. So if it is rezoned to plan residential, they will have to create a development plan and come back before the Planning Commission for review and approval.
Thank you. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Commissioners, if you'll allow me a little professional courtesy, I'd like to read a statement. As a commissioner, I've always had a very, very soft spot for the residents of the Choteau community because our family has so many friends out there, and because as a commissioner, I've gotten to have more friends because I represent them. I was the one that stood up and prevented a pill mill from being located on the roundabout at Choteau. that illegal facility would have brought really just an undesirable element to the Choteau community. And I was the one that initially alerted the Choteau community to the Choteau landing development, which was the Section 8 housing. Nobody was aware of that until I brought it to the forefront. And, I've been well aware of the traffic issues. Let me back up a second. Also, when this issue came before rezoning, the Harvey Road project at 1620 Harvey Road, I reached out to the leaders of the Choteau community to make sure that they were aware of this and had all the proper information. In fact, I attended the Knox planning meeting and sat with the members of the Choteau community. And so, I'm also the one, along with Commissioner Jay, but I actually sat down on these traffic improvements with Mayor Jacobs, and we were able to work out a $2 million budget item for that. So over this time period, I've been trying to do several safety improvements to the North Shore Drive. So I'm a little frustrated because about 5 days ago, a small fringe group of Choteau residents hired an out-of-state PR firm, I guess to intimidate me. But as my colleagues know, John Schoonmaker cannot be bullied or intimidated. So that tactic didn't work. But I guess I was a little surprised that they'd hire an out-of-state firm when we have such good PR firms here in Knox County. So even though that's transpired, I'm not going to give up my responsibility to represent the residents of the Choteau community. I'm still going to work for them until August 31st of 2024. So if my colleagues could go to their computer and go to the knoxcounty.org website, which is Mayor Jacobs' homepage, I'd like you to look at something. You see on the tab where it says Advanced Knox, if you click on Final Plan Available, and you go down to where the green tab says Interactive Map, am I going too fast? And you pull up the map of Knox County, these are all the new land use classifications that we're going to approve here in the next couple months. If you can zoom in to the Choteau area, which is the southwest corner of that map, and you're going to have to do a really good zoom job. If you'll notice on that map that the property in question that we're talking about tonight is classified as rural living, which under that category with all the other property south of North Shore Drive is limited to 2 units per acre. So if we believe in what we're getting ready to approve here shortly, which is our comprehensive land use plan, and we don't follow what we've already got in place and we've seen, it's been in the works for months now, as Commissioner Beeler said during the work session, if we don't believe in it, then, what are we doing here, so to speak? So I'm going to make a motion that we approve this rezoning at 2 units an acre based on the proposed comprehensive land use plan that's provided for us by the Knox County Mayor's Office.
We have a motion on the floor for 2 units per acre by Commissioner Schoonmaker. Do I hear a second? Second by Lee. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Durrett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Brooks, Commissioner Schoonmaker just brought our attention to the interactive map. We received an email from you about an update to our comprehensive plan. Are those updates added already?
Yes, they are.
They are, okay. And Mr. Mullins. So your original ask was 5. You are okay with 3.
We are fine with 3.
Okay. How does that, and forgive me because this is so new and I'm still learning all of the place types, what is the density for rural living in the new proposed plan? Is it, Director Brooks?
If the comprehensive plan is approved, there are a number of different zones that can be considered for the rural living place type, and one of them is planned residential up to 1 to 2 dwelling units per acre.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Schoonmaker, I'm on the map and I'm struggling to, while I find Harvey Road, I'm struggling to find the intersection of North Shore Drive and Harvey. Are you referring to the striped blue areas?
Correct. Yeah, you have to really zoom in close to actually see all of the areas. Harvey Road is actually, it's on about the 3rd or 4th stripe. You can actually see where it says Harvey Road. And this is the raw land that's now been incorporated with, including this south side of North Shore Drive in the Choteau Peninsula.
Thank you.
Are you finished, Commissioner Jay? All right. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Schoonmaker, are you?
What? I'm sorry.
All right. All righty. We have a proper motion and second on the floor for development at 2 per acre. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Yes, we will do a roll call.
Madam Chair, if you wouldn't mind to repeat the motion on the floor.
Certainly. The motion on the floor is residential development at 2 units per acre. Per the future map.
Future comprehensive.
All right.
Chairwoman?
Did I hear someone?
Can I provide
yes.
I just
Yes.
want to provide some additional clarification because I know that all this it's very confusing. The future land use map, the plan that has not been adopted or considered by Planning Commission or County Commission yet, does not, in this particular area, determine density. That is determined by the zoning district. So I want to make that clear. So this place type does not limit the density per se. There are a number of different zones that can be considered, just like today in the ag zone, in the LDR, for example, low density residential.
Thank you. So a correct wording, I believe, Commissioner Schoonmaker, would be approve development at 2 units per acre.
Okay.
Are you agreeable? No?
Yes, but I think I need a clarification on what she's saying because the mayor's office is saying something different to what you're saying. Because they're saying everything in the Choteau Peninsula, south of North Shore, will be, the max is 2 units per acre. So you're saying that doesn't fly if the comprehensive land use plan is approved?
I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to make sure that you all understand the distinction between the place types and zoning itself. So the place types allow consideration of a number of different zones. One is which is PR, and currently that place type, that zoning, PR planned residential zone, 1 to 2 dwelling units per acre. It is very confusing. I just want to be clear that the place type in and of itself does not limit dwelling units per acre. It has to be attached to that zoning.
Thank you. Would you identify yourself, please?
Mandy Benedict, Mayor's Office. Commissioner Schoonmaker, I think you're referring to the rural area for the growth plan. We did not change that to the rural area. We changed the place types on those parcels.
Correct, but what would be the zoning then for those parcels?
We don't have the new zoning for those parcels.
But it would
That would be created through the UDO. Correct? Okay.
Okay.
Did you have some more comments? Oh, I just heard you speak and I just wondered. All right. Mr. Mullins, briefly, please.
Well, I just want to make sure I'm on the same page with commission and with the mayor's office and with planning commission. The rural living place type does not assign density. It allows there to be a number of different zones that could be in place. The only zone that reference density is the PR 1 to 2. However, since this is still in the planned growth area, it can still consider densities for different zones up to 5 units an acre. So that the density isn't artificially restricted just by this place type yet until that zoning map gets changed. So I just want to make sure that just it being designated rural living by itself, as I understand it, does not restrict the density to essentially converting this from a planned growth area to a rural area. So I want to be clear on that. I think with what's built out there, 3 units an acre is appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Pardon me just a moment.
I'll start with Derek because Commissioner Lundy started number 1 ordinance, and that's the only roll call that we've had. So I'll start with Derek. Derek, all right. Is that okay?
In our
Somebody has their
rotation,
light on down there.
yes, in our rotation of voting, go ahead. Was that,
All right.
all right,
Okay.
all right. And then we really are going to vote. So everyone's good.
I just had a question,
All right.
question for Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden and Ms. Brooks, I'm just trying to, not knowing all the neighborhoods that was referenced by Mr. Mitchell, I think was his name, at the beginning. Am I characterizing this area by saying that most everything is either 2.5 or 3 units an acre? Montgomery Cove, Jefferson Park, Chodo, Landing, again, not knowing every single place. That's characteristically the same as the area I see as high as 5 and as low as 1.5.
You're addressing that to
I would
Director.
Ms. Brooks or Mr. Snowden?
I would say it's predominantly 3 and under.
3 and under. Okay, thank you.
All right, again, we have a motion on the floor at 2 units per acre, beginning the roll call in District 2.
Commissioner Derrick,
No.
Commissioner Oster,
No.
Commissioner Ward,
No.
Commissioner Schoonmaker, Commissioner Hill,
No.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler,
No.
Commissioner Daly, Commissioner Jay.
No.
Commissioner Daly, you want to vote aye? Okay. Commissioner Jay,
No.
Commissioner Frazier,
Madam Chair, will you please clarify? I was explaining something to my junior commissioner and did not hear the motion.
It's at 2 units per acre.
No.
Commissioner Lundy,
No.
okay. It failed.
What's the thing?
3 ayes, 8 noes.
All right, that motion failed. We had 3 affirmative and 8 noes. We haven't had an original motion. Does this
Goes back to the floor.
back to the floor? No. All right, back. Commissioner Ward?
Motion for 3 units an acre per staff recommendation.
Second.
All right, we have another motion on the floor for 3 units per acre. Motion by Ward, second by Daly. Is there any discussion on 3 units per acre? Seeing none, we'll begin roll call in District 3.
Commissioner Oster votes aye. Commissioner Ward.
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker. Commissioner Hill.
Yes.
Commissioner Lee.
No.
Commissioner Beeler.
Aye.
Commissioner Daly.
Aye.
Commissioner Jay.
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier.
No.
Commissioner Lundy.
Pass.
Commissioner Darrett.
Aye.
Do the passes wish to vote? Commissioner Schoonmaker? No, you do not wish to vote. No. Commissioner Lundy?
I stay at pass.
It's a no. Motion passes, 7 ayes, 3 nays, and one pass. So motion passes at 3 units per acre. Next item, please.
It's 1-F-24-RZ is a request of Mary Ward for rezoning from RA low-density residential and F floodway to agricultural and F floodway, located at 9625 Clift Road, parcel ID 053-00402, part of, in the 8th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Request of Mary Ward. Is the applicant present? Would you happen to have any knowledge about this, Commissioner Beeler? All right.
I do not, Madam Chair, but I'll make sure that we reach out to the applicant.
All right, and we'll recall it again at the end.
Thank you.
All right, next item, please.
Item number 46, 1-F-24, I'm sorry,
47.
47. 1-G-24-RZ is a request of Kenneth M. Gilreath for rezoning from PC Plan Commercial in F floodway to CA General Business in F floodway. The property is located at 3816 East Governor John Sevier Highway, parcel 083-06002, part of, and it's in the 9th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
I am Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street here for the applicant.
Thank you. Is there any opposition present? Anyone to make a comment? Seeing none, Director Brooks, it's okay? Thank you. Commissioner Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the CA General Business Zone with the condition that the applicant provide a 50-foot landscape buffer consistent with the commercial considerations of Governor John Sevier Scenic Highway Corridor Study. The F floodway zone will be retained.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Commissioner Mullins, would you like to speak to this? Commissioner, Mr. Mullins?
No, would not want that job. My job's hard enough. It's not as hard as yours. I would. This is a bit of an unusual case. It did pass Planning Commission by a vote of 12-2 to rezone this from a planned commercial zoning to a general commercial zoning CA. Planning staff recommended against the zoning to change it from planned commercial to the general commercial. And the reason, the justification in staff's report, as I understand it, is that the planned commercial would allow the Planning Commission, to have a development plan move forward to see what was going to be done there on that property. And the applicant's point is that really on this particular piece of property, that really isn't necessary. He owns the other parcels, the other 2 parcels to the east of this property. They are already zoned CA. Traditionally, before zoning was even in place, all this area was a kind of a mini commercial node along Strawberry Plains and John Sevier Highway. This property is very small for a planned commercial zone. It's 5.77 acres. And the planned commercial zoning 5.33.04 says that planned commercial zoning is intended for larger tracts of property with a coordinated arrangement of commercial buildings. And it goes on to say it is not likely, therefore, that a planned commercial development would contain less than 20 acres. And I was initially retained not to seek a rezoning for this property, but to help with the development plan to see what can be done. He wants to relocate as an existing, I'd say, the automotive industry. It's not really an automobile. It's more like battery operated, equipment and things like that, gators and things of that nature. He's wanting either to expand it or at least relocate it on that corner, which would be a better place for that type of business. And given there's topographical challenges, there's a floodway. The PC zone has a 50-foot peripheral boundary all the way around it, and it just really constricts what can be done, and we couldn't identify a way to develop that property without having to go to the BZA for variances, and even under the best conditions with environmental constraints, getting a variance is very difficult. And so we wanted to see about a rezoning first because we believe the CA zoning is more appropriate. There's industrial property to the south, there's commercial, the same CA across John Sevier, the same CA that my client already owns just to the east. And given the fact there's not been any opposition, kind of underlines the fact that, while there's sometimes a need to have a planned commercial zone to look at and mitigate impacts around the surrounding properties, this piece of property really isn't appropriate for it. It could be developed in a way that's respectful to the existing zoning and existing uses that are surrounding it. And this was a strikingly very similar conversation to the piece of property that Mr. Gilreath owns now. It's immediately to the east that came through in 2018, where staff recommended planned commercial, and this body approved the CA zoning that they were asking for back in 2018. So, I do respect staff's consistency in their opinion on that, but I believe that the planned commercial zone is just really not appropriate for this, and the general commercial is the most appropriate zone for this piece of property. So I'd ask you follow Planning Commission's recommendation and approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Mr. Mullins. This is at the corner of Strawberry Plains and John Sevier Highway where there's a red light there in place. And its sight distance is a long way on sight distances. And I do thank you for honoring the corridor study, which will be a screen-type vegetation screen there. So I am going to make a motion to go as Planning Commission's recommendation.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to go with the recommendation of planning, a second by Commissioner Jay. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Ward?
I just have to recuse myself from this one.
All right. Seeing no other lights, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next item, please.
Item number 51-H-24-SP is a request of Thunder Mountain Properties for a South County Sector Plan Amendment from LDR Low Density Residential and HP Hillside Protection to MU-SD SCO-1 Mixed Use Special District, South Knox County Gateway and HP Hillside Protections, located at 0 Chapman Highway, parcel ID 150BC001, part of, in the 9th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Present.
Would you give your name, please?
Taylor Forrester, 1111 North Shore Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37919. Here on behalf of the...
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Is there any opposition present? Anyone wanting to speak to this project? Seeing none, Commissioner Brooks, would you go ahead and give the recommendation?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the MU-SCO-1 South Knox County Gateway Land Use Classification as specified in the case boundary map because it's a minor extension that is compatible with the surrounding development. The HP Hillside Protection areas will be retained.
Thank you. Mr. Forrester, the floor is yours.
Here on behalf of the applicant property owner, Thunder Mountain Properties, this request for an amendment to the sector plan, the South County sector plan from LDR to mixed-use specialty district, South County 1. The South County sector plan contemplates several areas being designated for mixed land uses. The rationale for this, as set forth in the sector plan, is the changing of conditions in the area. The special land use districts are located in areas that have good transportation systems and necessary infrastructure. This request is a minor extension of the South County Special District South County Sector 1. The adjacent property to the west of our track, it includes a retail shopping center as well as a golf driving range. And on a portion of property on the north side of Chapman, also has the same sector plan designation of specialty use, mixed district specialty use. I have the hardest time saying that. The South County sector plan recommends a diverse range of uses in the mixed-use specialty district: retail, office, low and or medium density residential. The zoning recommendations that follow this sector plan designation under the South County sector plan are commercial, office, residential. Commercial zoning is by far the predominant zoning in this mixed-use specialty district. It was noted and commented during the planning staff review at their agenda review meeting, in all likelihood, they're doing some historical research on it, that this property did not originally, under the last update or amendment to the South County plan, wasn't designated as the mixed-use specialty district, South County 1, likely because of site concerns with ingress and egress. There were site distance issues and therefore leading to safety concerns. Since the South County sector plan was last updated, TDOT has made substantial improvements to this area of Chapman Highway, and these improvements have in fact alleviated these safety concerns. There were turn lanes added, the road was expanded, and the sharp curve was I guess, reduced around this property that created those site distance issues. There's utilities have been expanded, including new water line, new gas line in the area. We're asking that you follow Planning Commission recommendation and approve the sector plan amendment to the mixed-use specialty district, South County 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments from commissioners? Seeing none, Commissioner Daly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, I would like to say that Simpson Road was raised about 20 feet to make it an at-grade intersection, which makes it a whole lot safer there. Other intersections has been widened to make it safer. They're still working on Chapman Highway, a little faster than Alcoa Highway, well, a lot faster than Alcoa Highway. I won't be alive when Alcoa Highway is finished, I'm afraid. But this is a good area for mixed use. It's at Chapman City, the driving range, that area there. We need to, as I told the mayor one time, we need to stop them before they get to Sevier County, spend their money in Knox County. That's how you get roads. That's how you get sales tax dollars. We get it all from there. So I am going to make a motion to approve it, Planning Commission's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Daly, second by Ward. Any
Just to
others?
clarify, sorry, it's just for a portion of the property.
Yes, as indicated in the description. All right. Seeing no more lights, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item number 51, 1-M-24-RZ is a request of Thunder Mountain Properties for rezoning from RA Low Density Residential and A Agricultural to CA General Business, and the property description is the same as the previous item.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Present. Taylor Forrester, 1111 North Shore Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37919.
Thank you. Is there any opposition, comments out there? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the CA General Business Zone as specified in the case boundary map because it is a minor extension that is consistent with the surrounding development, subject to one condition, a vote of 14-0.
Thank you. Would you like to address your project?
Sure. Same portion of the property. See the part of now. This is approximately 7.9 acres of this portion of the property is already in fact zoned CA general commercial. We're asking to expand that footprint to rezone the same part of or portion of to the CA. Will be consistent with the mixed-use specialty district. Believe, as Commissioner Daley stated, this is a good expansion in the area, kind of a redevelopment, revitalization of the commercial on that side of Chapman and the adjacent properties. And we'd ask that you follow Planning Commission recommendation and approve the CA rezoning.
Thank you. Commissioners, any comments? Commissioner Durrett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Forrester?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. I saw in the packet that there is a natural barrier. Are there going to be, or buffers, are there going to be any other buffers in this project?
Yes, I think what you're referring to is that there's a major gas line that runs along the eastern boundary of the entire track. Obviously, with that gas line, there cannot be any vertical type development over that gas line. So you'll have that natural or I guess naturally man-made barrier. There'll also be landscape buffer requirements. So with this rezoning and the condition by staff is that we would have to come back for a development plan approval for the commercial development on the commercial portion that will go to Planning Commission.
Okay. And then, so this is for a specific portion of the property. Will future development of this property require any additional review?
Yeah, the development plan review by Planning Commission, which requires site plan, landscape plan, all to be submitted and reviewed and ultimately approved by Planning Commission.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Frazier?
Commissioner Durrett asked my question, but just to follow up, and you addressed this as well as part of the condition with the development plan, if a landscape design plan will also be included and a traffic impact letter.
I believe those, I'll look to planning staff as far as the traffic letter. I know it will include the landscape plan, exterior lighting, architectural design, parking, signage, and access. And there's some stub outs across the property in different areas, and those will all be reviewed, I know, during the Planning Commission review, whether those make sense to keep those open or not to disperse the traffic.
Thank you.
Seeing other lights, Commissioner Daley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve per Planning Commission's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Daley, second by Ward. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item.
The next item is number 52, 1-N-24-RZ. It's also a request of Thunder Mountain Properties for rezoning from RA Low Density Residential to PR Plan Residential up to 5 dwelling units per acre. And the property description is the same as the two previous items.
Thank you. And again.
Promise I'll sit down after this. Taylor Forrester, 1111 North Shore Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37919.
Thank you. Is there any opposition present? Seeing none. Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve PR Plan Residential Zone up to 5 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to the project?
Sure. Getting rezoning request from RA to Plan Residential up to 5 units per acre. This would be the rear portion adjacent to the recently rezoned commercial portion. The request is supported by recent rezonings and development plan approvals in the area. There is a 117-lot townhouse development at 9109 Chapman Highway, which is southeast of the subject property. That zoning density is at PR at 9.46 dwelling units per acre. There is the Highlands Ridge subdivision, which is west of the subject property. Zoning Plan Residential And the density on that is recognized as only 1.47 dwelling units per acre, but that was a 125 acre tract, which was mostly hillside. And so the development was clustered into a small corner or portion of the property. And the actual resulting density in that scenario ended up being 4.7 dwelling units per acre. Property located on the east side of Sevierville Pike, rezoned to PR at 2.8 dwelling units per acre. So there's support of a variety of density within the recent PR rezonings ranging from above 9 to 2.8. And considering this being adjacent to a commercial zone tract, a 5 dwelling units per acre under the PR zone is an appropriate use of the property. It serves as a transition between those two tracts. And as stated with the sector plan amendment, we do have the improvements that I mentioned to Chapman Highway that Commissioner Daley also mentioned that expands the lane. It's 5 lanes, 2 eastbound, 2 westbound, with a center turn lane in this area. At the intersection of Chapman and West Simpson, road was realigned and eastbound deceleration lane was installed. The utilities have been expanded to the area, the new water lines, gas lines being installed. As I mentioned previously, there's 2 different accesses on both sides of this parcel. Not sure if there will be access through the commercial. That'll be something to be reviewed, but there will be development plan review for that. There will be landscape buffers, and again, along the eastern boundary, we still have the same gas line easement that no vertical improvements will be there, so creating an additional barrier. We'd ask that you follow up Planning Commission recommendation and rezone the property, plan residential up to 5 dwelling units per acre.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Frazier.
Who's already on? Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. Would the applicant be willing, and I know you addressed some of the landscape buffers, but to include a condition of a landscape screen type B along the boundaries adjacent to existing residential properties?
Yes.
Thank you.
He moved on me.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none. Commissioner Daley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will let, if I agree with it, I'm going to let Commissioner Frazier approve with that condition. Is that what you were going to do? Go ahead, Commissioner Frazier.
I'm sorry. Make the motion. Motion to approve per Planning Commission recommendation of PR up to 5 dwelling units per acre with one condition, a landscape screen type B along boundaries adjacent to existing residential properties.
Second.
Thank you. Motion on the floor by Frazier, second by Daley. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly, we have very, very bright young junior commissioners with us. And when they signed up for this program, I told them I promised we would never keep them beyond 9 o'clock so that their studies and their grades could remain excellent. And we have reached that point. Now, they are not required to go home, but I did want to say thank you and not keep them any longer so they did not get
I appreciate that.
disgruntled.
Junior commissioners, please feel free to leave. Absolutely. We will continue on reading item 56.
12-D-23-RZ is a request of Freddie Trainer Jr. for rezoning from A agricultural to PR plan residential up to 6 dwelling units per acre. Properties located at 11308 and 11234 Samley Road, parcel ID 103, 063, and 067 in the 6th Commission District.
Thank you. The applicant introduce themselves.
Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant.
Thank you. Is there any opposition? I do see one hand that has been raised. We'll go ahead with discussion on this? Actually, yes, we will go ahead with discussion first on this. Mr. Mullins, would you like to speak first, or would you like the
I
opposition
think I have to speak first under the rules.
Yes, sir, you do. Thank you.
And
Pardon? Would you like to have it first? All right. All right, go ahead, Director Brooks.
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve PR Plan Residential Zone up to 5 dwellings per acre because it's consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development and is supported by local amenities, 14-0.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Ben Mullins. This is about 10.74 acres on Sam Lee Road. It is, if you're familiar with Sam Lee Road, as I know Commissioners Frazier and Hill are very familiar with this stretch, it is at the 90-degree turn there at the church, which is a very challenging turn, admittedly. The property, however, is in the planned growth area. It is just to the north of the Hardin Valley Academy and the middle schools. And the sector plan designation on this property is medium density residential, which allows for considerations of density between 6 and 24 units an acre. The applicant originally asked for the lowest end of that existing medium density residential for 6 units an acre. Planning staff recommended 5 dwelling units an acre because it's consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development and is supported by local amenities. The applicant accepted that recommendation, and this was voted and approved by Planning Commission by a vote of 14-0. One of the things I think Planning Commission took into consideration in approving this unanimously is that the applicant had reached out to the Hardin Valley planning advocates about what they were concerned about and what type of development. They wanted it to be single-family detached. They wanted to have internal sidewalks. They wanted it to have rear entrance garages to the buildings themselves. So it's kind of a patio living, front facing, and have some internal sidewalks and local amenities. And we've come up with 2 plans, that one for 39 units and one for 42 units that meet those requirements. And so we have been engaging with Hardin Valley Planning Advocates about something they feel would be compatible for that area. But back to Sam Lee Road, which is an issue. Following the Planning Commission's vote, Engineering Public Works reached out to us and said, we have an idea. This is a great opportunity for a private-public partnership in trying to improve a very difficult stretch of Sam Lee Road. I mean, they recognize, the medium-density residential and the type of density that would be considered for that. And but they also recognize there's a chance that this needs to be changed. And so what they proposed is us donating right-of-way, 50-foot right-of-way to extend Sam Lee Road, not around that hairpin curve, but actually through the southern portion of our property and kind of swoop up into the Boyd Lonis property. Now, we don't have right-of-way acquired for the property through Boyd Lonis. At some point, that property is probably going to want to be developed, and there'll be another opportunity to extend that. Or they can acquire it through condemnation at some point. But this road needs to be improved, and we're willing to do that, to extend that road and basically leave there to be 2 kind of stub outs, driveways on Sam Lee Road, accessing those properties to the east and to the north that still need, kind of those accesses. But, what we passed out were 3 documents. One was the option that Engineering Public Works have kind of conceptualized that we are in agreement with, and the other are the 2 concepts that we had kind of worked out kind of before, but then we took into account what the road realignment would make those concepts look like. And we can make that work, either 39 or 42 units. We are still asking, though, if you do the math, rough math, and again, I've said this before, math is one of the reasons I went to law school. But 10.74 units an acre, if you have 42 units an acre, then, you're, in the 4 dwelling units an acre range. But we don't know, because we don't have a development plan fully worked out. We haven't done the engineering. We haven't done all the geotechnical work that needs to be done on that. And we know we're giving up about an acre for the right-of-way dedication that we're being asked to do, that we're agreeing to. We'll get a little bit of that back if some of the road is closed, but we don't know exactly how all that's going to shake out. So even though we're still committed to one of those two concepts at 39 or 42 units an acre, having it still at 5 units an acre will give us a little bit of flexibility to work through that and make sure we're not putting ourselves into a corner with the project as we move forward. This will have to go through a development plan again, and we've agreed, in addition to everything that we've talked about with the Hardin Valley Planning Advocates, to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Engineering Public Works at the time we move forward with a development plan and a concept plan. We can't get a building permit until we get a concept and development plan approved. So we've got a lot to talk about. I know they asked us to contribute in some of the construction, specifically that kind of the grading of the road. We'll already have that equipment when we're working on our internal roads at that time. So we'll agree to do this, and they'll talk about doing, and we'll be able to have time to really sit down and have very intentional conversations about what exactly that's going to look like and have a memorandum of understanding in place at the development plan phase. But right now, we're just asking for approval per Planning Commission and Planning Staff's recommendation of 5 units an acre, and let us kind of get in there with our hands in the dough and work through all these issues and really do something that's going to be respectful for the development that is out there, the existing neighborhoods that are out there, and an opportunity to really make an improvement on a very bad stretch of Sam Lee Road. So I would ask that you support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Would opposition step forward, please? If you'd identify yourself and county of residence.
Rob Clark, Knox County,
Madam Chair.
11228 Sam Lee Road. Our property, which has been in the family, is a farmland property.
Oh, excuse me,
Sorry.
Mr. Clark. Commissioner Daly?
I was not.
Okay, we need to do that.
Sure. Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Mr. Clark, go ahead, please.
It's okay. So our farmland property, which has been in our family since the 1950s, joins this property here to the south. And it's actually downhill from this neighborhood. So I've actually spoken with Mr. Farber, I think's his name, with Red Door. He seems like a genuine fella, and seems like they're going to try to do it the right way. But here's the problem we have. If you're not familiar with this area, Sam Lee Road from Solway Road to Steel Road is about a 1.5 mile length of road. There is no shoulder. There are numerous switchbacks, and just right outside this neighborhood, there are 2 90-degree turns. So adding additional volume of traffic there becomes a safety concern, number one. So again, on one side of the property, halfway down through there, there's actually a mountain on one side. You're not going to expand that. On the other side is Beaver Creek. You're not going to expand that either. It's straight downhill. So we're concerned about the volume of traffic that's flowing through Sam Lee Road. We've got Hayden Farms, Hayden Hill that's come through, plus another development that's even larger on the west side of Steel Road. So you're adding a lot of volume in a hurry. And I keep hearing about the infrastructure concerns across the county, and it's a real concern here in this area. There's a song lyric that goes something like, they paved paradise and put a parking lot in. I've lived that. The property that Hardin Valley High School is on is our farmland. It was, eminent domain was taken from us, right? They said, well, you got paid for it. We didn't want to sell it. It was just taken. So now we're on the north side of us, we're having an issue with more development. You can't hide, I get that. There's growth concerns across the county, I understand that. But what I would ask you to do is consider the problem with the infrastructure for Sam Lee and limit the number of homes that are going to go in right next to our property, again, next to farmland property. Where is that water runoff going to go? It's going to go straight downhill to our property into our pond where cattle graze. So I heard someone ask about one property, whether it was farmed or not. I can tell you that this property is currently being farmed and has been farmed by me and my grandfather. So I would ask you for consideration of the limited use of that property, a limited number of homes that go on that property, number one. And I don't think there's anything I'm going to say that's going to keep you from approving this property, but I would also ask you to have some buffer built in between us and the neighborhood with regard to some barrier of landscape or some kind of drainage that would move that water away from the pond and the property. I want to thank Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Fraser, some of your moderated responses today and your voting tonight. I appreciate that very much. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Mullins, perhaps I missed something. You're proposing realignment of the road is sort of a conditional thing, but you don't really have realignment of the road. I mean, this is not on our, I'm not seeing this on our capital list, right?
No,
Mr. Snowden?
I think Commissioner Fraser indicated that she wanted to condition the rezoning upon a memorandum of understanding being entered into between us and the county about realigning the road and working through exactly what are the details of that realignment. How much are we going to be responsible for as a developer? How much is the county going to be responsible for as the county in order to take away those two 90-degree turns that Mr. Clark just referenced and make it come along the south edge of our property. So that condition that can be imposed by commission would be, we would agree to this realignment, this dedication of right-of-way and a memorandum of understanding as a condition of the rezoning.
Okay, hold there right there. Do you own the Boyd Lonis property?
We do not.
Do you have rights to go through the Boyd Lonis property?
We do not. And so
because
at
this
this
road
point,
is essentially going right through a house.
it would have to stop at the edge of our property until another project could be commissioned and approved, either through, if it's a road project or if someone moves forward with Boyd Lonis and wants to, he wants to develop the property talking about doing that. But at least it'll have it's one step in the process on making this better. And I believe we have spoken to Mr. Lonis, and he's not in an objection to us starting this road process. Understand at some point he would like to develop his property, and that would be something that would be beneficial to him as well.
I gotta say, I have a little heartache on this whole corner is really predicated on a new and better road that doesn't force everybody into the existing tight corners. And I don't know, I have a hard time approving it if you don't have a plan and a piece of property if you own the Boyd Lonis Road and you had a plan with Mr. Snowden, but unless that's there, it's really hard for me to see how you guys are ever going to build a road together, because Knox County has not been in the business for a long, long time, with the exception of a time long before us that maybe eminent domain or public use was more widely used. I've been here 6 years, and I don't think I've ever been part of something that we just magically said we need a new road right through here. So, yeah. Mr. Snowden, help me understand this. I think we're back to the chicken and the egg scenario, but this really is.
We have, and Mr. Mullins summarized it well. We would like to take this opportunity to try to fix this location. Unfortunately, in this condition, much like years ago, we had one on Nubbins Ridge that one property owner owned it all, so it made it a lot more simple. In this case, we don't. I have shared, and this alignment that my team drew up with Mr. Lonis. We could phase this. Obviously, I would think it is a project of the scale that we could easily do in-house to mitigate some of that cost. And obviously, new projects have to come in front of this body, but it would be one that I would recommend for consideration because as the homeowner said there, I mean, there's a lot more trips on Sam Lee Road. It's probably 18 to 20 feet, so the width's not too problematic, but this curve is problematic. So, I mean, I would like to pursue the project. I think it's something that's we could do with minimal cost, minus the property acquisition for Mr. Lonis. So yeah, I mean, I would like to try to do the project, but it would require, I guess your all's consideration and approval of that acquisition.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Did we recently rezone a piece of property in this general area a couple of months ago or not? Does that ring a bell with anybody? No? Okay. And then if we don't get the road improvements, Mr. Snowden, the access to their development would be where?
We could, and Mr. Mullins kind of alluded to this, one of the things we could do if there was to phase it in, so to speak, we could build that road along their south property line to essentially their west property line and allow them to access that new road and then still leave the 90-degree curve in this current configuration until such time we can then secure the property for Mr. Lonis.
Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have several questions. How much would it cost to acquire this property? Mr. Snowden, do you know?
And Commissioner Lee, we haven't looked in great detail of that. I mean, let's see. It's really hard to establish that right now because he would have a remainder on that, I guess, that northeast corner. We would want to make that remainder large enough that there wouldn't be a damage to that remainder. We want to make sure that that property up there doesn't have a diminution of value. So then we would be looking at essentially a 50-foot right of way for, let me see here. Probably less than 1,500 feet. I'm not entirely sure about what the valuation would be, but I do think that expense would be justified due to the growth in this community.
But we don't know how much it would be at this point.
I mean, I could make a guess, ma'am, but I really hate to guess it at it right now. I mean, it's.
Well, let me ask you, is the county in the alternative they can't purchase it? Would they at any time consider doing an eminent domain on this property?
This body approves all land acquisitions, so this body grants me that authority. I would think that there is a significant public benefit by realigning that roadway, so the justification could be made, but it would be this body's, I mean, I could make a recommendation. I think I would make that recommendation, but it would be up to this body to give me that authority.
Okay, and my last question is, Mr. Mullins, what is your plan for any type of buffer on the farm property?
Well, if the road realignment is, the road would run between our property and the farm property on the south side, so that it would be basically giving them frontage on the new Sam Lee Road. So we wouldn't have any, if you look at the alignment there, that there's really, other than a small sliver that really isn't developable on that southwest corner, the road creates that buffer at that point.
And that's based if the county is able to acquire that property?
Well, they would acquire the right-of-way for our property regardless. That would be the point of the memorandum of understanding, and has a condition on this zoning.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? I was led to believe that Mr. Lonis was in agreement with all of this. Am I hearing that there's a question about that? Mr. Mullins?
I know that in our conversations, and I wasn't personally involved in those conversations, that he is supportive of the project. I don't think there's any agreement with him about acquiring the right-of-way, and we were starting one step. I do know he is at some point going to be interested in developing his property, and at that point, there would be the time to discuss that with him. We can't do something with property we don't own, again, but we can try to make it better and give the county and empower the county the tools to improve this through this development in and of itself. And then later, there'll have to be another step in the process.
We've had a lot of discussion about this in our community. We've spent time with Mr. Mullins. I know that HVP PA has personally been in touch with the builder. Kudos to your clients for providing this much information. This is greatly appreciated. It's certainly beyond what we could have asked or could have required for certain. I'm very excited about the willingness of Knox County engineering to step up and take what would be necessary to fix this road. That's very exciting to me. I guess I thought this road was going to be a done deal. So I'm hearing now that even with an MOU about between the builder and between Knox County, that we cannot promise the people that this will be done because we don't have it in writing from the other property owners. Am I correct in that?
I think you are correct on that, Madam Chair. I mean, we can only control the property that we have. As a county, you have tools in your tool belt that we don't have, obviously, and that Director Snowden referred to, and whether that's through some type of project to acquire the rest of that, or whether that's when Mr. Lonis or whomever he's selling his property to wants to develop it, and discussing with them, finishing this road out. But we can't do it without taking the first step, and this is just the first step.
Director Brooks, would you please address what could be on this property, given its current zoning?
The current zoning of the property is ag.
All right. And let me restate that the sector plan and the
So the sector plan sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Maybe additional clarification.
The fact that this could be medium density.
Oh, correct, yes. So it is currently designated as MDR, which does allow consideration of a much greater density than what is currently being requested.
This is where the problem lies. I know. I was so excited about this initially, recognizing that still what could be happening here is apartments or duplexes or something that really would not be compatible with the area. Quite frankly, I was stunned to find out that that was even a possibility, and that's just a result of the old plan, which certainly is not appropriate even a little bit in this area right now. but this puts such a different slant on it.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
might I jump in and
please
maybe
do.
offer an alternative? Mr. Mullins, Mr. Snowden, I think that several members of this body may be agreeable to postpone this for 30 days to see if you could work out an agreement with Mr. Lonis, or to find, I feel like if this road project felt real and it was going to happen and you had it a bit more concrete, then you'd be out of here in 5 minutes. Right now, I hate for progress to stop because we're not quite there yet, and I might suggest that the commission chair, if it's agreeable, to take 30 more days and see if we can't get something a little bit more concrete, and then things can move forward without going into a period where it might be denied for a much longer period of time.
Thank you. And also, and I Mr. Clark, we spoke at length, and I genuinely appreciate your concerns about runoff and pollution of your property, the water issue, and that's something else too that I'd really like to take a harder look at. I didn't realize the trajectory was as sloped as you're indicating it is. So I would be comfortable, Mr. Mullins.
We're agreeable to a
All right.
30-day postponement to see if we can give a little bit more direction on these issues. It was something, again, that didn't come up until after Planning Commission's meeting, that this was even an opportunity. So as busy as everybody's been, it's been hard to get all the details
It
nailed
has,
down.
I know. I appreciate that. Well, thank you, Commissioner Jay, for that suggestion. I would like to make a motion that we defer this until the April Planning Commission meeting.
March, right?
I mean,
It feels like April.
it does. All right, March. I apologize. March.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your consideration.
Next item, please.
Item number 5712-F-23-RZ is a request of Arsip Horobet for rezoning from BP Business and Technology Park and TO Technology Overlay to PR Plan Residential up to 12 dwelling units per acre and TO Technology Overlay located at 0 Pellissippi Parkway, parcel ID 11871 in the 3rd Commission District.
Mr. Mullins.
When you
Please
took all the
introduce yourself.
non-contested ones off, you stacked all the contested ones together. Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant, Mr. Horvit.
All right. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, if we could have the recommendation, please, from planning.
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 12 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development, subject to one condition on a vote of 12-0.
Thank you. Mr. Mullins, would you like to speak to the project?
Yes, I would. And this is one where, through the efforts of Commissioner Oster and her district, we have been able to, we haven't met directly with the neighbors, but Commissioner Oster has been a mediator and a go-between with the neighbors on this, about their concerns, and what we can do to address those. This is just shy of 10 acres, 9.77 acres. Access is along Bob Gray, but on its eastern boundary is Pellissippi Parkway, northern boundary is Bob Gray. Below it is Parkway Heights. It is a townhome community of about 12 units an acre. And to the east is, I believe, is Montview. It's been a long day. I'm starting to, these things are running together too. Montview, which is, a single-family residential community. The concerns that were raised through the neighborhood was, they wanted something that was more in line with what they have, the current townhome development, and the density at 12 units an acre. They were concerned about, even though they themselves have 12 units an acre. This property does have some constraints on it with the hillside, and so doing 12 units an acre on this property would be difficult anyway. So we are fine and with reducing our ask today that you approve a density of 10 units an acre instead of 12 units an acre. We'll be doing attached townhomes on the property. We border residential on two sides. We are agreeable to maintaining a 35-foot, the peripheral setback is 35 feet in the PR zone. You can ask for less. We're not going to ask for less on the adjacent to the residential. The big issue that was discussed with the planning staff is this Parkway Heights, their access is exclusively on Pellissippi Parkway. TDOT has been wanting to close that access for quite some time, but if they did that, this property would be landlocked. By developing our property, it's an opportunity they could access our streets, which are going to be public streets. Their streets are currently private. Our streets will be public. We'll be dedicating that. They'll have access through our neighborhood to Bob Gray. So if and when TDOT closes that right-of-way, there'll be an opportunity then to connect to our streets. And so we are agreeable to maintaining a right-of-way between our development, and whenever we do a development plan, that'll have to be on the plan itself. That was the condition that staff imposed on this. They have a stub out and an open right-of-way, and so then there can be a connection if and when TDOT closes that. We won't be building the road into their neighborhood until TDOT closes that, and then that's something that they'll have to work out or ask the county to participate in. But we'll give them that opportunity to do that if TDOT ever does do what they've been talking about doing. And, it's a state. Who knows when they get around to anything. So I think that's an opportunity then to give them better access. The neighbors, I believe, are looking forward to having different access instead of going through Pellissippi. We're also, there's a lot of existing landscaping and on the property now. We're going to try to keep as much of that as we can, but to the extent we can't, we're agreeable to a type C, which is like the lowest level landscaping buffer between our properties and the residential properties. So that would just be to the west and the south. And to be clear, I talked about the 35-foot setback. We would want to be able to reduce the setback going towards Pellissippi and Bob Gray, but that doesn't affect anybody but our development. So those are the things that we've talked about with the neighborhood, and those are things that we are agreeable with. And we'd ask that, subject to those conditions, you approve this at 10 dwelling units an acre.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Ben. This was pretty exciting. Ben and I have been working on two big ones. We'll have another one next month, but it's very exciting to be able to sit down with the developer and be the mediator with the constituents, and the constituents understand that land is sold and purchased, but we can keep them in mind who've been taxpayers here for years and do a development that for my district is desperately needed. And let me also say, when Ben and I started talking, and then when I sat down with Mr. Horbett, he was going to do apartments, which I wasn't happy about, and neither were my constituents. And doing these townhomes is going to be a great opportunity for, people that are needing housing right now, and especially in my district. So it stays in the landscape, and I think that is huge that we keep that identity and that landscape from neighborhoods. So I couldn't thank you, Mr. Horbett, anymore. David Harbin was great to sit down, and it seems like it takes forever for us to come to an agreement sometimes, but when we do, it's kind of sweet. So I am going to not belabor this any longer. I'm going to make a motion to approve 10 dwelling units an acre. There will be landscape buffer C. There will be a traffic study that we agreed upon. 35-foot peripheral setback, south and west property lines. Right-of-way and stub out to Odin Street when TDOT closes the entrance to Parkway Heights, which, let me say really quick, is a huge, huge deal for my people on Parkway, because you can imagine trying to get into that subdivision off of Pellissippi at 90 miles an hour. So this is great, and they're excited. And the new development's entrance will be to Bob Gray, so they won't be coming through Parkway Heights. So that's my motion.
We have a motion on the floor that I won't repeat, but I trust you've gotten down.
Sorry.
That's all right. By Oster, second by Schoonmaker. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
You're welcome. Next item, please.
Item number 58, 12-H-23-RZ is a request of Tanya Barris for rezoning from BP Business and Technology Park and TO Technology Overlay to OB Office Medical and Related Services and TO Technology Overlay. Properties located at 10105 Dutchtown Road and 1009 Mabry Hood Road. Parcel IDs 118165 and 118168 in the 3rd Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? My understanding this is the second no-show of the applicant. Commissioner Oster, do you have any comments?
No, I've actually tried to I've tried to reach out a couple of times and haven't heard anything. This was deferred from January. So with it being a no-show, my motion will be to deny this zoning.
Second.
Motion on the floor to deny, second by Frazier. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I believe we have one more that, thank you, page 46. Thank you.
This is a request of Mary Ward for rezoning from RA Low Density Residential and F Floodway to A Agricultural and F Floodway.
Is the applicant present? All right, this will automatically be deferred, and Commissioner Beeler, you'll reach out. I believe we have no zoning appeals. We have no amendments to the Knox County zoning ordinance. In other business, Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now to do with zoning, but I messed up and did not tell our junior commissioners before they were dismissed. I will follow up with them directly. That last week, in preparation of their mock meeting next week, the junior commissioners voted on who would be the chair and vice chair of their own mock meeting. I'm happy to say your new junior commissioner chair is William Mendoza Uceda, and your new vice chair is Bayless Bolt, both of which who are representing 3rd and 4th districts. So I will reach out, but I apologize for not mentioning that earlier.
Oh, and I also passed on incorrect information too, because I believe I was thinking we were patterned after last year, which the chair.
That was a bit of the feedback. They wanted to choose their own.
All right, so I owe him apology. I've been trying to gear him up. At any rate, we are about to adjourn zoning, and before we do, you know, you always have to listen to something from me before we reconvene, and now is the appropriate time. If you are walking down the right path and you're willing to keep walking, eventually you will make some progress. Hear, hear. I will adjourn this zoning meeting, and we will reconvene the regular commission meeting at 9:45.